Hey everybody, welcome to another Friday with Dannphan. What is up? I see Free63 is first again. Nova mentions that being last is more impressive. Yeah, don't you always love it when you're just finishing up the stream and then there's a bunch of people typing in the chat like, "Oh, I missed it." Immediately last. Late for being early. Oh, there you go. Hopefully everyone is having a decent Friday so far. I started off today pretty wired up with coffee. Got a good bit of caffeine in during the morning. Probably too much in foresight, but it's one of those things where it's kind of like a curve where caffeine can make you really productive, but when you have too much of it, it just makes you really anxious. And then that does the opposite. That just makes you very unproductive. But, you know. So, has it been a very nice week so far? Should I go over, like, any and all announcements right at the beginning of stream? Should I wait till mid-stream or late stream? Or both? Perhaps both. There's definitely a lot of things I've been considering as far as the indie comics Burning Star stuff comes into play. I'm stringing together my sentences very awkwardly already at the beginning of this stream. I think I'm on the downslide from the caffeine intake. Should have started earlier. Well, anyways. I guess I might as well go over whatever announcements that I have to make. You want to look at my Twitter? That's where like 85% of announcements are these days. I should also be posting to like the YouTube community posts, but you know how it is. So let's see. What do you think? Comic creators should be called comicas? Yes, very, very important announcements right away. No. But hey, it would save a lot of time, as opposed to saying comic creator. Comic creator is like the most accurate term I can use to describe myself. If I call myself a comic artist, people think that I just do the art. If I call myself a comic writer, people think I just do the writing. If I call myself a cartoonist, people think that I'm doing like very simple newspaper or children's media cartoons, right? And if I call myself a mangaka, everyone will be mad because I'm white. So the second thing that I think is, can I call myself a comica? Someone else was responding that you should go with like comicer, you know, like a plumber, one who does comics, or comicer. But that doesn't really roll up off the tongue that nicely. I think comica sounds better. It sounds like a little bit more closer to mangaka. But what do I know? I'm just some indie comic creator. Such a mouthful. Anyway, I posted another couple pages on the Subscribe Star where I show you more of Reaper. And I believe there is a total of like 48 pages up there right now. So, basically halfway through the story. At the halfway point, as far as being done the inking. Granted, I will go back to some pages and fix some things here and there that I don't think look that good, or, you know, still kind of figuring out what I want to do with the shading and all that type of stuff. But if you're on the $5 a month Subscribestar, you're getting to see those pages extra early. Like, immediately when I get done those pages, they're uploaded every month to Subscribestar. So, yay! I'm doing more with the Subscribestar. And it's about damn time, huh? Before that, I was already, like, posting some preview pages for Sonic City Witch, but I feel like this is a little bit more in line with what I really wanted to do with the whole Subscribestar, with that idea similar to the manga apps and the like Shonen Jump magazine, where it's like you subscribe to a service and then you get to stay caught up with the manga, or in this case comics, that you're following. So if you're into Reaper and you want to read it as soon as it comes out, that's the way you can do that. And this will be true of other comics that I do in the future, of course. So I'll be putting up, like, pages on the Subscribestar immediately when they're done. And then you're getting a lot more out of that subscription. Oh yeah, this was a funny post I had to mention. Of course, I was showing a friend. Granted, not an artist friend, so maybe they get a pass. But I was like, oh man, you know, I'm doing a lot more work with Reaper because I'm practically redrawing all of these panels since my art style has changed so much from when I originally made these drafts for it. And I showed him, like, a comparison, right? Like, this is what the original looked like for this one panel. That's supposed to be Ichabod, right? That's the original sketch that I did. And then this is what the new version looks like. I completely redrew it, as you can probably tell. But it looks a lot better, it looks a lot cleaner than this scribble right here. And I was showing this to my friend to be like, look at me improving. And then he's like, I don't see any difference. It's like, the only difference I see is that one is blue. Come on! Breaking my heart. Yeah, I think that's about all I got as far as comic announcements, I guess. Obviously, there's going to be a bunch new creators popping on to Burning Star in 2024. That's very exciting. Oh, man. And then some people might not make it for the 2024 schedule. Maybe they'll pop on to 2025 instead, you know. These comics take a long time, remember that. When some people start a comic now and then submit it, and they're like, I just started it, so it's not going to be done for a while now. Maybe it'll take a while, especially depending on how much time you have to dedicate towards it and how long it is, etc., etc. But you know. Yes, the outfit is different. I redesigned his outfit because it looked a little... I mean, the original version was obviously very, very loose. But I also thought it looked a little bit similar to Genwin's, to the Horizon Quest comic that me and Adam did. So I was like, yeah, I should really redesign this so that it looks distinctively different. And it does now, so yay. I've redrawn old pics as well. It's a good way to measure how far you've come as an artist. True enough. True enough. How is 2024? Less than a month away. Time goes fast, man. Time goes fast. Does the submissions end at the beginning or end of February? Sorry, something about the double ends getting me all confused. I think I'll leave it open throughout February, but most likely, if you're, like I said before, if your comic's gonna take a while. It's probably better to push it to 2025 instead of the 2024 submissions. But they're all, it's whatever. What was I gonna say? My mind's racing too fast. Like I said, too much caffeine gets you anxious. You gotta have just the right amount so that you're actually paying attention. Fuck. I was gonna say something. God damn it. Sorry. I'll circle back. Sorry. Which size should the canvas for the comic be? All the sizes are on the submissions page. So all you gotta do is look at that submission page and read. The sizes that we accept anyways, they're all on the submission pages. And if you did submit a comic and I haven't responded back, it's probably just because it's the holiday season and whatnot. Oh, I think I do remember what I was going to say. I think I was going to say that not all of the comics that we announce at the beginning of the year are going to be the only comics, because, you know, sometimes we're not 100% sure when a good release date is for a certain comic, so we just announce it later in the year instead of at the beginning of the year. You know, it depends. Everything takes time. If we're not 100% sure when a release date should be for something, then we'll just like hold back on announcing it. I think that's a much more safer way to play it. So we could have some surprise releases during the year of 2024. But I'll do my best to announce most of the comics at the beginning of 2024. But if you are like, if you're submitting a comic in like January or February, we could have you late for that year, or we could have you just go to the next year. Hey, happy Friday. Let me see. Do you have a favorite type of face/character you like to draw? Like, do you go to design a new character and have to stop yourself from adding those traits? I mean, I always lean towards simple and more expressive styles. I guess Adam might call it more chibi stuff. Like, you ever... Hang on, I guess I could just, like, share the screen and show you guys. Alright, Burning Star Comics, there we go. If you've ever read It's Not Like Getting a Job Will Kill You, that comic right there, you can tell that I'm doing a more, like, chibi, cartoonish, simpler style. And I do lean towards that when it comes to doing a lot of my comic stuff. I would like to kind of aim for more towards the classic, or whatever you consider the classic anime style. But you can kind of see generally in stuff where I do a more anime style. It's still kind of westernish anime, like with Horizon Quest here. And I feel like people might not be super into western-esque anime. So I'd like to, in the future, maybe move further away from that, maybe try to embrace more manga-style stuff. But, you know, it's always going to have my own little influence, my own little twist on it. Because it's my art. I'm not just trying to copy and paste somebody else's style. It should always kind of be obvious that I drew it. That's at least how I see things. Because if somebody else could have drawn it, then why not just go to that somebody else? I don't know. Yeah. Big heads and eyes, that sort of thing. Well, I mean, there's obviously a lot more to style than just that. It's a combination of multiple things. But you know, generally. I very much like retro anime style, like 90s anime. I think that's really solid stuff there. And I do kind of like Western anime style, although it's been kind of corrupted over the years because so many people who are not working on very good books have come out with that style, which is a shame because I kind of like it. But then there's also the super cartoonish style. And, you know, getting a job, it's not like getting a job with Kuyo is not the only example of that cartoonish style. There's also like multiple manga that kind of use that style. There's Totally Bound Hanako-kun kind of vibes with that cartoonish style while also adding a very horror-esque inking to it, which is pretty fun. And My Ordinary Life also plays with a cartoonish, more simple style. But yeah. My main point is, it's not just me doing it. it's a style that like other mangaka and other comic creators play with for sure. It's such a fun comic, by the way. Thank you. Oh, hey, Jamie. What up? Wouldn't mind the Western manga style, so long as the art's fine. Yes, right? I think it's generally kind of disappointing when a style becomes known for being associated with a certain type of writing, because then people don't trust it like they used to. Like the Cal Art style. People always mentioning the Cal Art style with the bean mouths and whatnot. It's been kind of corrupted in a way, because now people always associate that style with bad writing. Which is unfortunate, because that kind of means, like, you know, you gotta not do that style for a while until it doesn't have that that reputation behind it, and then you can start doing that style again once the bad reputation is gone. But could hurt your business otherwise, right? My own style has been described as reminiscent of 80s and 90s anime, but with a Western sensibility. I do like the 80s and 90s stuff, for sure. It has its own little charm to it. Very distinct. Let's see. Have you guys seen Radiant? It's a French manga, and even got an anime. Yes, I've heard about Radiant. Have I read that? I feel like I've looked it up and like read a few pages of it, maybe, but I can't remember the single thing about it, honestly. So I don't want to say for sure that I've read it, if I haven't actually. You know, I'll say that no. I'll say no, I haven't read it, but I definitely know what you're talking about. I haven't seen the anime either. I was told that it was pushed very hard, but then it ultimately didn't do as well as expected, which is kind of unfortunate, but you know. I know what Radiant is, of course. I'm just like wondering if I've read it or if I've only done research on it before. You know, you ever been like one of those headspaces where like you're trying to remember if you saw a movie or if you just watched a review of a movie? Because it's kind of a similar experience of like watching it with somebody who's just bitching about the movie the whole time. That's my thought process there. Didn't like French things authors started to push in there. Ooh. French things, huh? You're not talking about like a, dare I say it, it had some woke stuff later on, which was kind of bizarre in a manga. You could tell it was made by a French guy. That's unfortunate. Oh yeah, that's unfortunate. I did hear somebody say that it didn't perform as well, but they pushed it very hard. It does a decent job at like looking like fairy tale. Like, it looks like a very specific art style. But, you know, that's also the problem with, once again, like I said, copy and pasting somebody else's art style instead of trying to evolve it into your own and making it look distinct. But it could have fooled me into thinking that it was by the same guy. When designing a character, do you just get to drawing them, or do you use a designing program or AI, gasp? A designing program? What's a design? Is a designing program the same thing as AI? I have no idea what you're talking about. But no, I mean, like, I look up references, I look up photos based on the aesthetic that I'm going for. So if I'm writing a fantasy and I'm designing a character who exists in a fantasy universe, I'll be looking up like medieval clothing or different fantasy anime or etc. etc. Whatever general aesthetic I'm going for. And then I'll kind of like mix and match certain hairstyles and clothing styles until I find something that feels distinct to that character, that feels like I've captured them. You know? But no, I don't use AI. AI is extremely new. Let's not pretend that like AI has been around ever since I started drawing. I'm not that young. But yeah. So I've been designing characters for a long time before AI was even a thing. I don't need to use AI to do that. Cal art style became the norm because it's easy to draw and easy to animate. I mean, some people would argue the same of a lot of modern anime styles, where like anime starts to look like the same art style over and over again. That's also another thing, is part of the reason why a lot of anime looks the same is not only because it's a little bit easier for people to draw the anime the same way as they draw anything else, but because it's a certain established level of quality that the producers agree with, that they agree looks good. So it's a little bit different, but yeah, the style took over Cartoon Network and has been attached to its fall from grace. Yeah, that's a thing, for sure. Yeah, it felt just like fairy tale at start. I will also, again, ask if you watched Scissor 7. It was recommended to me by a goofy friend, and she looks very similar to you. Why do I feel like I've looked this up before? It's not in my search history, so... What is Scissor... Oh god, it's a Chinese animated television series? Who is she? Who looks similar to me? Everybody looks completely different. Oh, it's a Netflix, okay. Alright. Yeah, I don't think any of these people look like me. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really into... I don't know. I don't have a Netflix subscription or anything because 90% of stuff on there just wasn't really my thing, but Chinese anime in general haven't not had the best experience with it. Adam, he reads like the, how do you pronounce it? Like the manhua, right? And he was looking at a bunch of Chinese webcomics, manhua, whatever you want to call it. And he was saying that you could always like distinctively tell when it was Chinese versus when it was like Korean or Japanese, because they're very distinct writing styles. And he said one of the things about it was if it was a webcomic from China, it would feel very desperate. Something about it would like feel like Like, they really wanted to push, you know, pro-Chinese things, and they really wanted to, for the comic to be really popular, so they were trying, like, extra hard. But another thing he would also mention is that it was always very vocal about everything that was happening. Almost as if it didn't, like, trust the art to tell 50% of the story. Like, it would always be constantly explaining. So he does not enjoy Chinese webcomics, that's for sure. But he does really enjoy the Korean ones, actually. I think he probably even enjoys the Korean ones more than the Japanese ones. But you know me, I'm all manga. All manga. I don't really do the webcomic thing. But can you blame me? The main source for webcomics is, like, webtoons. And webtoons is like... fucking webtoons. It's awful. But, you know. Yeah, manhwa is how I would pronounce it. I've read a lot of manhwa and manhwa. More like a guilty pleasure, and you can really tell a lot about society where it was made in. Oh yes, I saw a lot of Chinese manhwa where there was stuff like, you have to work for the good of the people and stuff. Yeah, there's definitely, every now and then, there's definitely, like, some pro-Chinese something in there. He was reading one where they just kind of shoehorned in the, you have to die for your country. It's like, I'm not even necessarily anti-nationalist per se, but it's, you know, when it's shoehorned into a story, it can be a little bit jarring. But it's whatever. It's whatever. He's mostly just reading a lot of these Korean webcomics because he wants to read a lot more fantasy stuff, and he's gotten a little bit disappointed when it came to starting a lot of fantasy manga, for multiple reasons, really. A lot of, not everything, of course, but a lot of modern stuff kind of leans towards certain cliches and tropes that he kind of wants to get away from in the future. So he started looking at some, like, Korean stuff, not necessarily isekai stuff, but kind of adjacent to isekai stuff, where it's like a portal opens to another world. And then, you know, so the modern Earth that we live on has all, like, the magical cool stuff from the portal. Kind of like Gate, you know, right? But that's the type of stuff that he's been enjoying lately. And I'm sure that he's also, like, probably sharing some of them on social media if you wanted to look at what he's been reading. One of them was, like, some sort of barbarian thing, and now he's reading, like, this one about this guy who can produce, like, multiple clones of himself, and he sends the clones out to, like, learn different skills, and then he absorbs the clones and can absorb all the skills that they learned. Kind of like that one, what was it, X-Men villain? But, you know. I think I know what the barbarian thing was. You probably do. If you've read a lot of them, you might be in the same boat as Adam is, for sure. Alright, so let's, so long as I have you guys here, let's talk a little bit about Burning Star, shall we? I'll go over whatever updates I can give you at the moment. I've got to definitely come out with a new schedule. There's not too much announced just yet, but obviously we'll have a bunch of new things for 2024. I'm thinking I'll do the announcing in January. Just, you know, general announcements of things to look forward to for the year. So, sorry, I don't know why I'm having difficult. I think it may be just like the the too much caffeine thing. Yeah. More reminder to drink plenty of water, work it out of your system. But yeah. I'm also thinking this website needs a redesign. I'm looking at it and I can already kind of feel it. And you're looking at me looking at it and you can probably kind of feel it too. Yeah, this website could use a little bit of a redesign. I don't know what exactly would be a good, solid design for the website in general. If you have any general, I don't know, if you know any other comic websites or websites in general that you think I should take inspiration when it comes to the redesign of the website, feel free to link me. I'm open to any and all advice or just general opinions on what you think would look good and be functional as a comic publishing website where people can go buy a bunch of comics. But that'll be something to do for next year, is do a tad bit of a redesign, just so it's a little bit nicer looking. It looks a little bit cluttered right now, and granted, that's probably because I have a bunch of things open. But I'll figure out something that looks nice. Another thing is, I've been thinking that perhaps something to do for next year, since we'll have a couple of different comics coming out, maybe it might be an interesting idea to do a previews magazine or comic where people can look at, like 10 or so pages, first few pages of whatever comic is coming out. They can read a preview of it and then decide whether or not they'd like to buy it later on in the year when it comes out. Not something particularly new, but it would be new for us to do that. And I think in general, if I were gonna spend about the same amount of money as I would be on business cards, maybe that would be a better investment so that people can actually actively be reading the stuff. Trying to cross my legs. Ugh, okay. To actually read the stuff before they buy it. I don't know how effective it generally is when you give out like the free previews of the comics. Obviously, there's Free Comic Book Day, where it's a whole day dedicated to just that. So, maybe it is effective. I mean, if they're still doing it, and they've got to be getting some sales from it. There are definitely a bunch of free comics that I pick up on Free Comic Book Day that I never even read. But there are some that I have read, and then later went on to buy the comic for. So, I don't know. And then there's also the question of, well, if I do like a preview comic at the beginning of the year, how many do I print? And if I'm just like handing them out, if I'm offering them for free, should I also offer them on the website and just have you pay for the shipping and handling part? Or should I hold on to them and only give them out during conventions and give them out to comic book stores just to have on their magazine rack or something to give out for free? But let me uncross my legs. This is not comfortable. That's like the problem when you don't have a real desk to record at. Everything's all tightly knit together. Let me see. Hey Dannphan, what's your market strategy for promoting comic books? Damn. That is a loaded question. I mean, like, the main market strategy that I've been going with has been obviously doing the YouTube videos and promoting the comic books in those YouTube videos, as well as going on to other people's streams, doing these streams, talking about it, keeping people informed, etc., etc. In general, when you make posts about what you're working on for these comic books, it's increasing your chances of being found. But I would like to move forward with other different promotion tactics in the future. You know, extend my reach. So it's not like I'm going by a game plan per se. We're testing things and seeing what works. YouTube always kind of works because I have an audience on YouTube and I can rely on them to check out a comic that I put out there if they're interested in it. So it's always kind of like just a sure thing to let people know what I'm working on YouTube. What program did you use to make the design? I'm doing everything on WordPress. So, yeah. I'm not using one of those shitty websites like Wix or Squarespace or whatever. Everything's on WordPress, and I generally had someone help me make the website, but I've been adding a lot more to it since its original creation. But yeah. Free Comic Book Day is how I got into Promised Neverland. That's something. For sure. I'm working on a trailer for my Indiegogo campaign. It consists of voicing over the first 5 pages. I think that will help us see what the book is about. Yeah, comic dubs. I also had some comic dubs in mind. I mean, like, I mostly just have to wait for Adam to voice his lines. But yeah, that is, obviously I've also done, like, animations on the Burning Star YouTube. And my general plan is to have at least one trailer for every comic on the Burning Star website, so that everything kind of has visibility online. So, that would be good. The only comic book store I know of in my area closed down years ago, so I'm without a brick and mortar store to shop at. That is quite unfortunate. Sorry to hear that. Definitely a lot of comic book stores closed out, especially after COVID. You know what, you might need a TikTok account to put trailers on. I mean, they have YouTube Shorts also. But, yeah, I mean, TikTok is weird because they have a big audience, but the amount of people actually buying on TikTok is very low. Like, their click rate is terrible. So, maybe it's good for getting people to be familiar with a comic, but they're not going to click off of TikTok to go then buy the comic. Like, you can get word out there about it, but are they actually going to give you money? Probably not. You know, it's a little bit more complicated, especially on apps in general. Hey, thanks for the 20, Mark. Says, make the comics, and I assume we will buy. WordPress. I'm rolling my own website build. Look forward to the new site. Sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. I'm definitely, I'm not like a particularly skilled graphic designer, and I'm not a website designing person, for sure. So I know that it looks cluttered. I want it to look better. That's all I can really tell you, is I'll be working to make this look nicer. But right now it's a little bit cluttered. It gets the job done, but it could definitely be better. Jamie Rose says, I wish they had taught me to dress websites in my graphic design classes. I'm surprised that they didn't, honestly. A lot of graphic designers these days are also doing a lot of the website stuff. In retrospect, it feels like I was being taught Adobe shit and nothing else. Yeah, I wonder why. Dude, Adobe and colleges. So fucking corrupt. I hate Adobe. As someone who grew up with Adobe, I hate Adobe. They're so fucked. Well, why not do the previews mostly as digital downloads to cut down the cost? I mean, if you're gonna give them out for free, you might as well limit your out-of-pocket costs. Yeah, well, my initial thought was I was giving them out at conventions, right? So that people would, come to our table. Maybe they wouldn't have a whole lot of money, and maybe they would just pick up the free thing, and then later on, once they read the preview, they'd be like, oh man, this is really good. I really want to see where the story goes. And then when they have money, they would go on to the website and actually check out what comics we have, etc., etc. But that was the thought anyway. Yeah, you can always do handouts at cons. TikTok market based on the YA trend seems to be like the H&M of books. Yeah, fair. Mark says, I am a developer, so hence why I am rolling out my own website. I hired out graphics design. I am no artist. Yeah. I'm no website designer either, so I think in general, obviously, like, the best thing to do on a comic website is to make sure that you have some of your best art just out in their face immediately. When they first click on the website, the first thing they should see is like something beautiful, right? But you also need to make sure that they know where to buy the thing and what's available to buy. And it's good to give them some options right there on the homepage, but you also got to make sure it doesn't look as cluttered on the homepage. So it's a balancing act, for sure. Another thing that could be fun is the idea of, oh, well, if we are getting more and more successful, if we keep on moving forward with Burning Star Comics, it would be a fun idea to license out some manga. Very much an investment, of course. But, oh man, if I had a nickel for every single time I came across a really decent manga series and I'm like, oh man, I want to buy the box set, and then I can't find it. And you know why I can't find it? There's no English release. Oh, that would be very exciting. But, yeah, it's an investment. And being realistic here, it also is very dependent on the people over in Japan and who they would want to even sell the license to. And would it be Burning Star Comics? Probably not. I'd probably have to make a very clear name for myself to make them even consider me as an option. But that would be fun. If I could license out manga that doesn't have an English release, yes. It's the classic fine, I'll do it myself meme. If I can't find an English release, let me just make my own English release for this. There's so many too. I'm really surprised when something gets an anime and the manga doesn't even have an English release. It's like, what are you doing? how they just like are hoping and praying to get the money from the streaming services or the money from the DVD releases. But the whole anime and manga being so heavily linked together, at least in Japan, the whole idea is that it'll help sell the manga. So it's kind of shocking when they do an English version of the anime, but there is no English version of the manga. So that would be awesome. If you give the free preview comic out at conventions, it will bring more people to your website. If people are downloading it from your website, they already know your website exists. Yeah, that's true. The part of the thought process of putting the previews also on the website is just that so people who are already, dedicated buyers and want to support Burning Star Comics, they can also see the previews of what's to come and get hyped to buy some comics later in the year. But yeah, it would be decent idea, I think, to hand them out at like conventions and fairs and stuff. That probably wouldn't be the worst investment. I mean, the main thing that we gotta do is extend the reach and make sure more people know about Burning Star Comics, that we exist and that we have comics. Do you do your comics in EPUB format for e-readers? EPUB. I mean, we have PDFs of the comics. We sell PDFs of PDF versions of all the comics, and they get marked, of course, so that people can tell the difference. You got the Sonic City Witch digital, and there's this digital version of It's Not Like Getting a Job Will Kill You and Horizon Quest, and then the ones that are printed, it gets marked print. So that people can always kind of tell the difference of what they're actually getting. PDFs are fairly easy to sell, and when you download it, you have it on your computer forever. So you don't have to worry about like reading it on a service and then not being connected to the internet one day and not being able to read the comic that you paid for. That's always very frustrating. Clip Studio disappointed me by having it be so that you have to be connected to the internet to use the fucking program. I hate that. I hate that so much. But whatever. Can't do anything about it now. And you know how it is. As popular as Fist of the North Star is in Japan, the manga has never had an English localization until recently, at least not an official one. Yeah, it's funny. People have read the manga for a lot of things, but they've read it online, and they've become such fans that they want the printed version. But it doesn't exist. It's not in English. It's just some fan subs people. And then I thought, man, it would be an investment to get a license for it, but it's also an investment to be printing a lot of these comics that I've printed. I wonder if it would be possible to do a crowdfunding campaign to license out manga. Because, like, if you yourself knew manga out there that didn't have an official English release, but you wanted it to, you could actually put money towards making it happen. It's a fun idea anyways. But it's not happening anytime soon, of course. Oh, thank you. Here's some money. Thanks, Marshalt. Appreciate it. Yeah. PDFs can be loaded in e-readers. Sounds good. Yeah, I don't miss owning DVDs until my internet goes down. I have a bunch of things on DVD, but hardly ever use them. If I'm being completely honest, got a bunch of DVDs, but usually I just type in whatever movie, whatever TV show into the handy-dandy computer and watch it there. Just because it's a little bit easier. And you know, we don't, yeah, I don't think we even have a DVD player on board. And some, well, like Adam has a DVD plug-in for his computer. But a lot of computers these days, they used to at some point, every single computer coming out would have the ability to play a DVD on the computer, because great idea. But not anymore. So you have to get like the separate attachment to play the DVD and then put it through your computer. But yeah, it's obviously a lot easier to just look it up online and find it. You know. I remember how we celebrated in Poland that Berserk got released. I heard it was notoriously hard to get a license for Berserk. That's interesting. I mean, it's so popular that you would want a good publisher to get the license for it. I would imagine that they would have very high standards to who they sold it to. For sure. But yeah. Let's see. I think perhaps we've gone over just about everything. I don't know, is there anything else that you guys wanted to ask me or hear me talk about? I think I will probably go forward with the previews thing. But I want to make sure that I have a schedule worked out for all the comics coming out, that at least the ones that I know for sure, I want to make sure I nail down the dates for them. Because some comics might not come until next year. And that's fine. We'll touch upon those when we get them. But yeah. Now, what next video about? It's gonna be a little bit of a while before I get to making some videos again. I do have stuff that I want to make videos about though, but Christmas season is a busy season, as you can imagine. I'm glad that I took the break though. I think I really needed the break. And it's been good doing the streams. It's been, for the most part, fulfilling as far as getting people informed about what's going on, and also staying in touch, having fun, without getting too overwhelmed trying to come up with the next video idea and whatnot. But I've got a couple videos that I have written down that I'll be making and then putting out when the new year comes. So you can look forward to some of those. But yeah, for the Christmas season, we're just gonna take it chill. We're just gonna relax with these nice streams and the game streams and whatnot. And I also really want to work on more content for the Burning Star YouTube. Gotta put out some trailers and gotta do some comic dubs and other stuff. You know, gotta make sure that the website is being promoted properly. That's important. Make a video about a comic book that you think is good or something. There's comics that I think are good. I've got a couple of comics I was thinking about reviewing, for sure. And if people would, if people have stuff that they want me to look at and do a review of, I'll definitely take a look at them. I'm thinking, since the Dan anime got announced, maybe I should do a review of Dan. That's my thought process anyway. It probably is the correct thought process to have. If the anime is coming out, it makes sense to do a review on it. But yeah. You should try playing the ads for your books during this stream. I gotta figure out how to do that. You know, I've been doing so many of these streams on StreamYard, but not not really 100%. I've never really gone as far as to figure out how to do new things on this website. Obviously, there is a way to just like play a video or something, but I mean, at the same time, I'm also pulling up my website and being like, oh, it's burningstarcomics.net. Here's what's gonna happen for Burning Star Comics. You know, like, I'm talking about it a lot. So in a way, you could say that the whole entire stream is just an ad. Ba-dum-bum, ba-dum-bum. There you go. Yeah, Dan is insane. Can't wait for the review. Yeah, that's probably about right. Use Clipchamp for my video editing. Yeah, same. Clipchamp sucks. It's garbage. It's garbaggio supreme. I have like a list of complaints when it comes to Clipchamp. It's another one of those that you need to be online to even use, which is stupid. It's the most stupid. Programs need to stop doing that. It's bad. It's very bad. But yeah. Yes, I also use Clipchamp to do most of my video editing. It's one of the reasons why I have so much difficulty doing video editing on my own these days. Because Clipchamp sucks so bad. But whatever. If only I could get some of those super expensive video editing softwares, then my life would be great. You know, actually the best video editing software I've ever used was Sony Vegas 10, specifically 10. That was so easy, and I could do so many cool special effects with that, right? It was a hack, but obviously. I didn't pay for that, but I was much younger, and I had a hacked version of Sony Vegas 10, and no joke, it was the best video editing software ever. It was tops. iMovie, you know, iMovie was fine. I'll say it, iMovie was acceptable. And I think the super updated versions of iMovie are probably also pretty decent. Although I don't have a Mac anymore, so I don't get iMovie. And then Windows. Windows Movie Maker, the original, right? Not bad. Not shabby. Well, they don't do Windows Movie Maker anymore. They do Clipchamp, which sucks. It's a complete and utter downgrade. And they fill it up with all, like... There's so many video editing softwares these days where they try to get you into the microtransaction thing or the subscription service thing. Where they put all of these random ass assets into the video editing software, like stock footage and stuff like that. And it just makes your video editing software slower to use because of all these ads for assets that you can't use. And then they're like, you could use these assets if you pay the subscription. It's like, I don't want them. I don't want the assets. If I want to use a video, I'll download it from the internet. It's stupid. It's dumb. Bad. But you know, that's been a thing for a while for a lot of video editing software. I don't think it was in iMovie, at least not when I was using it. And, you know, it is what it is. Anyway, we're past the hour mark at this point, so we can start saying goodnight and see you next time on the Dannphan channel. But, maybe we'll do a game stream tonight. If you're into watching game fans, of course. I'll come out with more announcements on comic stuff as we become more certain of what's going on. For now, I think we've got a couple dates nailed down for the main comics coming out in 2024. And I'm very excited to be sharing them with you. I'm extra excited to be getting Reaper out there, because Reaper is coming out March 1st. We're doing the campaign. And those of you who have that $5 subscription on Subscribestar, you know. Reaper's gonna be good. Very, very excited. And now that I'm at the halfway mark, it's like it's all smooth from here. Alright, guys. So, good night for now. Possibly I'll see you later on the Game Fan stream. And definitely for sure, I'll see you for the next Friday. I think. Wait. Maybe I'll see you for the next Friday. Depending on if I have previous engagements. Previous plans. Alright, good night everybody. See you next time.